Welcome to the Healing Tree Hub. I have Eleni from Nurthus Health in Kilmore, and I am so excited to have you on board today and have an episode all about naturopathy, helping people out there get a bit more of an understanding about what this is, who you are, and how naturopathy might actually help them. So, welcome, Eleni.
Thank you. It's so lovely to be here. It's so exciting. We've had a little bit of work together, haven't we? So
We
it's been
sure
really
have.
nice to be able to share this with everybody. Yeah.
Oh, it has. I've been having so much fun with you all year. And we have been continually referring our clients to each other because we've found that we are using the same pool of clientele in the same country town. So these beautiful clients are getting the best of both worlds of naturopathy and
Absolutely.
yeah, it's amazing. So thank you so much for coming on. I knew that you were the right person to have on here to really help explain and bridge the gap between that holistic health approach. And there's so much interest in it these days. There are so many people, may I say, wanting more than what the Western medical system can provide, especially when it comes to chronic conditions or
Mm.
illnesses. And I believe that the holistic approach of naturopathy, functional medicine, can really bridge the gap. And this is coming from someone that studied nursing and loves Western medicine very much as well. But when we bridge the gap together, it's an incredible combination. So, welcome.
Thank you. And look, I 100% agree with that. People deserve to have that connection and bridging that gap, and they deserve to have the best healthcare as a holistic perspective. So it's not just the physical, it's the mental, emotional, and dare I say, the spiritual. So it's really, really important that people have this. It's just right. It's right for
Yeah.
people to see themselves as a whole person. So it's wonderful. It's exciting work that I do and also what you do. And we work very, very well together.
We do. We
Mm.
even had a marketing day last
Yeah.
month, which was way too much fun to call it work. But both of us have been under the same marketing coach. So, Linda Reed, check her out. She's absolutely amazing. I might even have her on here one day. And she sort of inspired us to actually start doing a little bit more marketing. So, we spent the whole day getting out the camera and doing some reels and socials. What a blast.
It was amazing. I don't think I had so many belly laughs in like forever. It was a full day of just fun. So
Yes.
much fun. It was the best.
It
Loved it.
was.
Oh, and my cheeks hurt too.
Oh, so bad. I came home, I was like, I can't talk to anyone anymore. I'm done. Oh my God. And yeah, so if anyone is following us on the socials, oh God, I sound
Yeah.
old, the socials. If anyone,
We're mature.
yes, mature. Please look out for these reels. We did a come with me to a naturopathy appointment. We also did a Q&A. And my favorite thing that inspired this podcast as well, not so much that we're going into that realm, but was we did awkward questions for your naturopath. Wow, that's going to be really powerful.
Yeah. And I think when you're starting to see a clinician, you can't have that clinician be uncomfortable about conversations with the body because we all have a body. So there's no reason to be uncomfortable about it. So being able to sit here and tell me, hey, I think this is a little bit strange or feels a bit off to me. What do you think? Should be a normal question for any practitioner. So fire away whatever questions you want, and we'll explore what's actually happening, what's normal, what's not, what's it's actually supposed to feel like if there is some sort of issue going on with it. So that's really important. So let's take that judgment away. Let's just be comfortable within our bodies and talk about them because they're awesome.
And I didn't hold back that day. I
No.
asked you some of the most intense questions. I got as deep as I could.
Yeah.
Any strange question I've ever come across in the human body, I asked you, and you just held it like a pro. So you are definitely going to be, I think, really seen in the industry as the woman that you could really go to for any awkward scenario or situation, and you can really hold space for anybody, which is
Yeah,
amazing.
thank you.
Something I wanted to ask was, how did you find yourself getting into naturopathy? Was this an area that you always wanted to get into, or did you sort of fall in like most of us do in these industries?
Yeah, so I initially started studying it out of high school, and then I ended up having major health crisis and changed industries and went into real estate for almost a decade. Little did I know that that was actually going to make it worse, all of that stress. And after almost a decade, I had to leave the industry. I had my children, I had to recover. So it actually ended up triggering off some genetic autoimmune conditions for myself. And instead of just taking it, laying down, I just went, you know what, I have to change this. I've got my children that are there waiting for me to be the best mum and the best version of myself. So, what am I going to do? If I'm not getting answers with this typical path that I'm going down, let's go back to naturopathy, do it slow, get the right answers for me. And what I found is that the more and more I understood about naturopathy, the more and more I understood about my body, the better I started to feel. I was able to heal myself and be a better mum, wife, daughter, sister, friend to everybody because I looked after myself. So I was ready to go, but then I didn't listen to my body. And then it was like, well, you know what? Now you're doing it. I do appreciate doing it later on in life because I've been able to experience the corporate world, experience what being a parent is as well. So I understand the different levels of stresses in different worlds. And I've also been able to understand what autoimmune conditions are and really what it means when someone has chronic fatigue. And that can happen from any sort of condition that is straining your body. So that life experience I could not have had as a 20 something year old coming out of high school doing the degree. So I really truly appreciate that learned experience, we'll call it.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was my it. And now I see that I am really, really enjoying supporting other people. And I love having people go, oh my God, why has no one explained things like this? So for me, education was power. It was my key and my tool to be able to get further. Why not share it? People are paying me for my knowledge. So here I am sharing it and they're getting benefit, which is like everything for me.
This is really important. What you're discussing is that real world experience that you can't be taught. You can't just learn it from a uni course, or it has to be experienced. And I talk about this in my courses quite often, that I could tell you all these interesting subject matter and information, but until you go and put it into your real world scenarios and experience, it means nothing. There's no download or breakthrough in that process. So the fact that you took some time off and you had some children, experienced some health issues, really got in the dirty of it, the real grittiness of life, that lived experience is absolutely so valuable. I remember when
Yeah.
I was learning midwifery nursing and midwifery, I remember thinking how, and this is nothing against anyone watching that is a nurse midwife that is a fetus. I remember thinking how difficult it would be for them to try to be an expert in a field that you've never experienced. It's not
Yeah.
impossible. Some people are incredible, but wow, is that difficult. So, you having that life experience, and I believe this for all healers in any area, they need to have had some challenges and difficulty and trauma and really come through the other side to be those experts on the subject. So, well done to you. I'm so glad that it did go that way for you.
Yeah, it is such a challenge to go through it, but you need to find out what you're actually going to be working towards and why you're doing it. So my why was actually my children. And for many mums, that's what it is. It's you do things for your children. So I didn't want my children to, and I'm going to lay this bare, I didn't want my children to see me walking stick or even using a wheelchair because my back had quite severe injury to it. So I pushed, I did my hydrotherapy. I, did it with a whole lot of older ladies. So I was in my 20s and here I was, the next age group was in their 60s. But I put that ego aside and went, this is what I need, and this is what I need to do because of my children. So that motivation, determination, regardless of setbacks, because life happens, we have to just keep going. And that was my motivation. The more I learn, the better I am. And now being able to use that for my children when they're playing sports, when they are pushing themselves a little bit too far, it's like, hang on a minute, is this where you need to be? Or do we need to take a little bit of a break, recover from this, and then keep going? If you don't do this, what's the consequence of it? So it's really important to understand your why. And honestly, for me, it was, yeah, truly kids. Yeah.
Usually is, isn't it?
Yeah.
These beautiful beings come into our life, and all of a sudden we feel this incredible responsibility to be the best version of ourselves. And that has drive like nothing else before. I know that my children were a huge inspiration for what I do as well, because I want to make the world a better place. I want to be able to show up as an example of someone that can work through any challenge and actually turn it into a positive. So now I know your why. Now I understand how you got yourself into this incredible field. What are you most passionate about? What are you excited to see coming through in your industry, or what you do as a business and how you're contributing? Tell me a little bit about what you're excited about.
Yeah, I'm excited about making some really big change within the healthcare industry. So, the last 6 years have seen an inquiry into naturopaths about their benefits within the healthcare space. And the government has actually signed off to say that yes, naturopaths are valued and are important. I would like to see that, as much as I appreciate the government doing that, but I would like to see that we're more integrative. And the research has actually shown that when we are integrative within the complete healthcare space, so alongside all the other practitioners, the outcome is actually better. So we work on the functional side and the doctors work more on the structural side. But working together is going to make a difference, and research shows that. And I would love
Absolutely.
to, yeah, I would love to make that change within our healthcare system. So people are one, educated, two, have the best of both worlds and are actually healing. So what I've experienced over the last 3 to 5 years, I've seen more and more people come in with more chronic health, less education. There's a lot more of a sedentary lifestyle. People are more disconnected. And I feel like they're not getting the answers that they want. So why are we not going back to the principles that naturopaths have, particularly that is doctor as teacher? So educating people on their body, it's changing the landscape of how we see and how we interact with healthcare. Because I'm here to guide you and support you in your healthcare. But at the end of the day, one, it's up to you to actually follow through with it. And two, you know your body best. So we need to support that and actually sit and understand and listen. Hey, I feel this symptom. I understand that my body does this when I do this. It is important. So I think changing the landscape of how we see healthcare as a population is going to be a critical step for the overall long-term health of our country, but also globally. And it's going to make an impact for our children's children. And that's
Mhm.
the biggest one. I want my children to grow up healthy and I want their children to grow up healthy. And if I can make a legacy of having changed people's trajectory in life and they live healthier, then I've done my job.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I love the most about what you just said? About how doctor is teacher, but including you is teacher. My favorite saying is, you can give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish and he'll eat forever. That is completely the most beautiful analogy. We need to start empowering people to be in charge of their own healing process. So, I love this holistic approach that you're really envisioning, that you're wanting to see how everyone fits into the puzzle rather than this is separate or this is either or either. That seems to
Mm.
be what a lot of people think. They think, well, I can either go see a doctor or I can see a naturopath. Well, no, why can't you see both? Why can't they be communicating? Even I, as an energy medicine practitioner and specialist, I am starting to really try to communicate with psychologists and counselors and giving them reports, especially when I was working under the NDIS. This was really, really crucial. OTs were communicating with me. So other countries do this so well. More of the Eastern countries, I find, do it well. We don't do this well. And
No.
if naturopathy, being this beautiful opportunity of natural health, could bridge the gap, I think it'll open the pathway for many other holistic services
Mm.
going forward, which would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would be fantastic, and it will give us the opportunity to really take the pressure off the hospital system. So everybody knows this. You go to hospital, you can wait for such a long time. But how many of those are actually accidents or emergencies? Or is it that they can't get in to see a GP, or they
Mm.
haven't had access to that preventative care, and now they've
Mhm.
ended up with chronic and complex cases and recurrently presenting to ED? And that's something that, working together as a team, we can prevent that from happening. We really can. Like, take, complications from diabetes, type 2 particularly. It's preventable, 100% preventable. So, type 2 diabetes, if we work on a preventative level of getting you to eat right, supplementing you right, working with the doctor to use any medication that they see is appropriate for that person, then they're not going to have the complications. They're not going to need to present with, say, foot issues, etc. And that person's going to have a healthier and better life. So that puts the strain or takes the strain off the ED department and allows for a quicker response for true accidents and emergencies. That's a huge impact just on that, let alone on everybody else's health and well-being. So just let that sink in for a moment. If you have a true emergency, if it is not clogged up by preventable things, you can go straight in.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
there are things that are preventable, so let's prevent them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to share a little story with you actually. My daughter, she actually had from the age of 18 months was in, well, actually from the minute she was born, to be honest, was screaming in blood curdling pain. And we went to sleep school after sleep school trying to think what was going on, but she was in absolute agony and we hadn't worked this out until she was able to start to communicate a little bit. And so around that 18 months mark, she was able to tell us that she was hurting. Her muscles were constantly cramping up and very, very painful. She would get these nasty rashes all over her body. And sometimes her muscles would become so inflamed or intense that she would just lose strength and flop. It was not looking good. So we had her under lots of rheumatology appointments, etc. First, they diagnosed lupus, which is ridiculous because children don't get lupus, but she failed the lupus test miserably. And then they discovered it was juvenile dermatomyositis, a very rare condition that does mimic lupus symptoms. Sorry for the long story, but this is an important part of it. The team that was looking after her told us that the prognosis wasn't great. There was no cure to this autoimmune disease, and that a lot of children ended up in wheelchairs by the age of 5. The only thing that they could really do for her was to give her low dose chemotherapy drugs and start her on steroids for the rest of her life. Steroids, as you know, is just a horrendous scenario. So this was a really dark time in our family's life. This is before I got into energy healing. It was one of the reasons I got into it, but we'll get there. So out of desperation, I remember my mum telling me how important naturopathy was and functional medicine was for my asthma when I was younger. So she suggested that I should go see someone. So I went and saw an amazing man. I refer a lot of my clients to him, and I'm going to connect you guys one day. I'll give him a plug. It's Hamish Therapies in Oak Park. He's really cool. And he's a functional medicine doctor. Within 6 months, with his concoctions and all of his amazing tests and all of his extravagant stuff that he did. I don't know what he did. He did some sort of magic. Within 6 months, she was symptom free. From a
That's
child
amazing.
that was, yeah, completely looking like she was going to end up in a wheelchair in a couple of years' time, and her test results were completely off the chart. She had to go back and have tests every few weeks. So they could see that the results had dropped to normal levels. After 1 year, I know, this is crazy, right? But everyone has to
Yeah.
have a wild story before they end up changing their whole life and leaving their career and going to some sort of different
Yes.
industry. This is my wild story. I don't think I've ever told it. And all of a sudden, the doctors at this hospital turned around and went, those 2 years of results that we had all off the charts, they all must be false positives because she doesn't have this condition anymore. And that's not possible. So all of the lab results must be incorrect. That was their explanation. Even though I had shared that we had done natural therapies, energy medicine, naturopathy, you name it. Instead of accepting it, they just went with the most unlogical explanation that this was all false positives. Now, regardless, I know we're just not there yet, but can you imagine the day where they actually acknowledge that the natural therapies or energy medicine or whatever we brought into it actually did contribute to a healing a long-term chronic issue? I mean, I can't wait for that day because we are
Yeah.
so ready for it. Anyway, I'm sorry for the big rant, but I thought you'd
No,
appreciate
it's
that story because I think it
fabulous.
really works with what you're saying.
Yeah, it's fabulous. It's great news for your daughter and for your whole family. And like she gets to live a life. However, that treatment worked, it worked. That's the most important thing. And you did a great job as a mum to just look outside the box. And I think that's fantastic. I do wish that it would be a little more accepted, to have natural therapies and energy healing would be a lot more accepted. We do know some fun facts that your brain patterns and thoughts have an impact on your gut microbiome within 2 hours.
Mm.
So, if we know that the brain thought process can influence the gut microbiome, and we also know that the gut microbiome is like a second brain with the way it interacts with the body, then why are we not really looking into things a little bit more further and understanding and accepting that, hey, thought processes, energies is actually going to affect our body? Like I know, and this is my own personal experience, that when I worked with you, Sarah, I could feel what you were doing and it correlated to exactly your work that you were doing. So when you were working, particularly the solar plexus, I could really feel that. And you weren't even touching that. You're actually just touching my head, which was really, really incredibly powerful. So why are we not looking into it and doing more research and understanding it? Because it's a whole nother level of understanding for our beings.
Oh,
And we are energy. We are. At the end of the day, it takes energy for us to move.
mm,
It's basic physics. We are energy and our processes are energy and everything requires energy. So why aren't we taking a step back and going, but how and why?
yeah.
It's,
Why is it not being looked at? It's so frustrating. The amount of
yeah,
times I have said, honestly, especially when I first started this career, because I'm very science based, I love a bit of science. I'm very woo woo, but there's a balance there. And I've said so many times, can someone please study what I'm doing? Can someone just do like a peer reviewed study? I don't care if there's 10 scientists in my room. Someone put me to the test, study me. If anyone's listening right now that has a thesis they need to do, I'm up for it. Can you come?
Yeah.
And the invitation is there. You want to do your thesis? Figure out how on earth, I should say, we are getting the results that we're getting, because the results are phenomenal. Like you said, even though I was working distantly on the chakra system, you could feel me in your solar plexus. And for those of you that are unaware of how the chakra system works, the solar plexus is right where the stomach, at the top of the stomach. I love that you mentioned gut health, because when I was nursing, I was fascinated to find out that there was neurons in the stomach. Like, how does that work? Like, that's incredible. What is it? Down the nervous system. So you've got the spinal cord, and there are actually neurons in the heart, which just blew my mind.
Yeah.
There
So
is neurons in the heart.
there's so much electrical activity. If you break down the central and peripheral nervous system, it takes up so much space in our body. It's phenomenal. And our body, when that's working well, we can actually connect our body and our mind effectively, and we can feel things correctly. When we talk about gut health, though, the bugs in our belly, which is normal, we need to have them there. Our gut is not sterile, but they actually send out enzymes that interact with the nervous system, but they also interact with things like our immune system, right? They can trigger off or reduce inflammation in the body. So
Yeah.
when we're talking about it, it is so complex, and knowing how they work and understand how they work can actually affect how the nervous system works, how the brain works. So it's a bidirectional system between them. So it's phenomenal to think how interconnected we are. And if we're utilizing energy to create this, then why are we not searching into it further? So our
Yes.
brain is the master center, and we know this, and the spinal cord's connected, and that's the main sort of gateway. But the nerves, you've got outgoing and ingoing. So the ingoing is what we feel, right? So if someone touches you, you feel it, it goes to the brain and says, is it a touch or is it something that we've got to pull away from? The outgoing is the response to that, or we're trying to say we want to move somewhere. But
Mm.
that goes down to quite a distinct level, so quite fine. But in terms of the actual gut, when you're in a stress response system, so you're stressed, back in the day, we'll be running away from things like saber-toothed tigers. Now we're just running to the next appointment or the next thing that's going on. There's no saber tooth, but
Yeah.
that stress keeps going. So we're in that chronic stress. What happens is our body goes, okay, we don't need to utilize our digestive system because that's not the most important thing. At the moment, we need to keep the heart going, we need to keep the brain going, we need to keep the muscles going. And so it does that, and it reduces the nerve function to the digestive system. Now, previously I spoke about that the brain and the gut is bidirectional, right? The gut microbiomes, they actually influence things, right? For the brain itself, they influence things like serotonin production, right? So when we've got neurotransmitter being synthesized in the gut, or it's actually being told to produce more, and we know serotonin's a nice happy one, when we're in this stress state and we have less nervous function to our gut, we're not going to be happy. When we're not happy, we're getting more inflammation. So looking at it from a different perspective and saying, okay, now we've got that information, what do we do with it? We need to then start looking at what are the ways that we can start helping to keep that calm mind and get into that rest and digest mode. So, what goes into our body, one, we understand what's good for us. Two, we actually allow time for that rest and digest so we can get good immune responses, we can get really good nervous system function and digestive processes, and then we're actually able to live a healthier life. So
Wow.
it is just phenomenal to think that there are things this simple to really understand how we eat, when we eat, and why we eat, and what rest do we need for this chaotic Western world that we live in. And this is just a simple first step.
As you were talking, all I could think about was this is why I get so hangry. If I'm not fed, my husband came home yesterday and he said there is one particular guy at work that is always angry. He's just constantly grumpy, moving around, frustrated. So he started to make a bit of a joke. He actually purchased and he throws Snickers at him. And he's like, "You're not yourself when you're hungry." I know, we're talking serious nervous system. Anyway, going back to the serious point, when clients get off the table or they finish doing a meditation in class, sometimes they'll use terminology like, "I feel exhausted." And I say to them, is it exhaustion or are you so used to being in sympathetic mode, fight and flight, always an emergency, 100%, which I want to talk about in a second. And for the first time in a very long time, you're actually gone to parasympathetic mode, which is that rest and digest you spoke about. And you're now actually in a, dare I say it, relaxed state.
Mhm.
They're like, yes, this is what relaxed feels like. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah.
Now
That's
that's a problem. That's an epidemic.
yeah. That's the Western world that I'm talking about. We're not being
Mhm.
chased by saber-tooths. We don't have to be better than everybody else. We don't have to compare ourselves to the Joneses. And we don't have to turn and I'm going to, open this bear. We don't have to look at what social media is doing and actually try to be like these people because
Yeah,
that's a filter, that's selective showing. You don't see what happens in the background. You don't see the challenges people face. They just show you all the positive. So it's
yeah,
about seeing where you are and what's important for you in a complete whole person. It's okay to relax. It's okay to sit there and take a book and just read it sometimes. Just chill out. There's no rush. I'm going to say something else that might upset some people. Dishes can wait for a couple of hours. They're not
mhm,
going anywhere. They will wait. So if you need to, take a break, be gentle on yourself, and get into that rest and digest mode because when you burn out, it is harder to get you there rather than taking small steps consistently. So
yeah,
leave the dishes and read a book sometimes. I'm not saying live in whatever, but
yeah.
take a break. You don't have to be perfect. We're all human, we're all real, we all have things. And sometimes I'll even do it, go, you know what, they're going to wait till tomorrow because
Yeah.
I can't do it tonight.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
Knowing your limits. It's just so interesting. I've even caught myself doing this, especially around this silly season, but really noticing it in others, that everything is treated like an emergency, like you discussed about the saber-tooth tiger. The saber-tooth tiger is the bill now, it's the email, it's the deadline. But it's not just that. It's how are we wiping down the bench? I caught myself the other day doing this. I caught
Yeah.
myself, every act I was doing was like an emergency and I was tense and I just stopped and I went, what is going on? Wiping down the bench is not an emergency. Running to the school drop off and pick up is not an emergency. Everything doesn't have to be treated like it's life or death. Our
Mm.
little day to day motions, we are no longer present. And I harp on about this all the time. I'm not going to talk about the present moment in this one, but it is important because if you are thinking about worrying about the past or thinking about the future, you are in emergency mode usually. It's you're either frustrated or you're thinking about something or worrying about something or you're really in an urgency deadline mode and you're not here and now. And that can really cause havoc on your body. And we know that so well because we're helping people deal with the chaos in the body
Yeah. And
time.
the strange thing is, people don't actually notice it because they get so used to it.
Mhm.
So having someone remind them that, hang on, take a break, just sit and have some mindfulness within the day. Try and meditate. Even if you fall asleep and have a nap, so what? As long as you're not missing anything critically important, which most of the time it's not. It's a TV show that they wanted to watch or, some sort of other item. And
Yeah.
Yeah, when you take that moment, sometimes, and this is going to sound wildly simple, but I've actually prescribed getting up in the morning and having a glass of water at sunrise and just breathing before you connect with the
Yeah.
world. That's what we used to do historically, and
Mm,
5 minutes out of your day is not going to be the end of the day. But what it will do is set you up for success. It doesn't
yeah.
allow you to get connected to that cortisol rising events that happen with let's check emails, check social media, and check everything, and we've got to go, go, go. It's this is 5 minutes for me.
You know, it's really interesting. Joe Dispenza talks about being addicted to the cortisol. I'm
Mm.
curious to see what your, and this is going to trigger a few people, so sorry, but it's worth having the discussion because I think he's got a point. Addicted to the drama, addicted to the emergency, addicted to the constant need to get things done because it's more chemical than just psychological. You're actually got those hormones, those, and I want you to talk about that. The cortisol running through your body, it's an adrenaline. It's an adrenaline rush. And that can be like a dopamine hit. Could you help just describe maybe what's happening
Yeah.
there?
Yeah. So when you're having that, absolutely, it is a dopamine hit. And some people will use that as their way to get through. There are other ways to get dopamine. I'm just going to put it out there. You don't need to have this ongoing adrenaline. But I think there's another level to it from my perspective, is that people seem to think that it is normal, right? This is how we should live. So, yes, we can get dopamine hits from doing quite extreme things. We can get dopamine hits from any sort of addictive behaviors. And some will feel it more, some are more unhealthy behaviors compared to other people. Some will use exercise, others may use things like drugs and alcohol to get that same sort of hit. But it's about understanding how your body is working and why do you need it. What's the underlying cause that you're leaning towards these behaviors? What are you trying to suppress in that, that understanding? So when we work with things like addiction, it is that addiction to dopamine, and they're doing it to feel good because they don't feel good without doing that. Why? What else is going on in their body? Is their gut microbiome off? Is their inflammation increased and they're feeling low and they're not able to process, and they're being told that it's not okay to feel off, or things are just normal and it's in your head, so just keep going. So it's, unfortunately, I'm not going to give a one-stop shop answer, but it's, these are the behaviors, and why is this person doing it? What's the underlying factor? What's the cause of it? And treating it as an individual case, because it does matter. Sometimes it's trauma based, sometimes there's physiological things going on, and others it's they're just being told it's in their head and they don't understand it because no one's given them the time and the space to go, hang on, we don't have to live in this ultra happy space all the time. We're allowed to have emotions of sadness, of melancholy, or just flat. That's our recharge.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
it's
it is. You're
okay.
not supposed to be happy all the time.
I
You know,
know
you're supposed to have the emotions.
it's exhausting to be happy all the time.
Yeah, it's not achievable. So a lot of us grew up understanding that we were allowed to be happy, but not too happy that we're annoying. And we're allowed to be peaceful, but not lazy. So there was this little area we were allowed to be in, but we weren't allowed to be angry because that was naughty. We weren't allowed to be fearful because that wasn't wrong. We weren't allowed to be anxious. We weren't allowed to be assertive. So there's children to be seen and not heard. Kind of a lot of us grew up that way.
Yes.
Now the problem is, and this is going back to the nervous system from my perspective and understanding, that we are programmed now to understand, to basically only allow ourselves to feel mid happiness or some peacefulness with constant drive of doing stuff, which means that we don't know how to deal when it comes up. When sadness comes up, we don't know how to deal with it. When anger comes up, we don't know how to deal with it. So we suppress and suppress and suppress. Now when we suppress these emotions, they get stuck in the body, and you and I have to deal with this very differently. You have to go through that natural therapy approach, and I
Yeah.
have to go through an energetic approach.
Yeah.
And then we start to clear this dense, trapped emotion that's not getting processed. It is holistic, it's mind, body, and spirit. So you can't talk about one without the other because the mind creates this emotion. The emotion gets stored and starts to fester, and that dense energy ends up turning into a physical component that you're actually getting really unwell with or experiencing discomfort with.
Yeah. One of the things that I was thinking about while you were talking about it is, and this is my observation for my clinical space, working with people that are in the chronic realm. So I do both preventative work and chronic, and my preventative people will not do this. This is a big one. My chronic people will apologize for their emotions. They will apologize if tears creep out, and they apologize if they don't think that they're doing what they believe I want, which is really fascinating. So it's about getting them to say, hey, this is a safe space. If tears fall out, that's okay. You've just got emotion. Let it fall out. Here's a box of tissues, no judgment. And getting them to really understand that, all right, you've got emotions here. Are we in the space that we're able to talk about it here, or do we need to refer on to a more specialist, you know, holistic counselor or someone like you, Sarah, or psychology? What do we need to do in this space? And I find a lot of the time when we get that mind body connection back and going, what are we feeling within the body when we're having these emotions? We're really starting to make that connection and make it work. And I see that almost 100% of the time with chronic patients. That apology, that I have to hold it in, I have to be the person that people like. And it's just fascinating observation to have.
I
Yeah.
really resonate with that. A
Yeah.
hundred, my clients too, my chronic clients, chronically ill clients or chronically in pain clients are constantly apologizing for this, not only just the emotions, the space that they take up. Yeah,
Don't apologize.
I know. Or I'm sorry, I've taken up too much of your time. I'm sorry, I just want to ask this question. Is that okay? I'm sorry that I'm getting emotional.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I had to make this appointment. This is a thing. I never noticed it until you just said that. That is so true. It's like
Yeah.
they're sorry for the space that they take up in the world.
Yeah. And that's really, really sad. And one of the biggest things we can do is, I've had patients sit in front of me and they've cried the whole time. And there's tissues there, and we just talk through whatever the situation is for them, and go through what's happening with their body, test results, all while they're crying. And that's okay. That's what they need. We do wrap
Mm,
it up a little bit earlier so they've got time to compose themselves, of course, but they need that space. What if they
yeah.
don't have that space anywhere else? So
This is
sometimes,
so important.
yeah. And that's one of the things that I really want to make sure that, I'm putting across to people, that it has to be a safe space for people. And I'm going to say the other thing, as a mum, back to my why I did things, is in my era, back in the 80s, 90s, yes, you now know my age, but it was boys don't cry.
Yeah.
And as a mum, I have three boys, and I can tell you, I'm going to encourage those men
Yeah.
to cry
Yeah.
because it's okay if they need to. They're just letting their emotions out, and they're
Yeah.
allowed to. I would rather
Absolutely.
they just go, I'm feeling this, and let it
Yeah.
out and
Yeah.
not let it sit within the body, because that's where we see a lot of things happen. So let them cry. If you need to cry, cry, let it out. Hold space for yourself. Do what you need to do as long as it's safe for both yourself and the people around you. But just
Yeah.
let that emotion, it's all right.
It's so much better out than in because otherwise, as we now know from different perspectives, that dense energy just stores. It doesn't go anywhere. You can shove it down, you can push it away, you can suppress it, but it literally stores. Our natural state is to be a high vibrational being. We're born a high vibrational being, like a helium balloon.
Mm,
And throughout life, all of those belief systems, worries and concerns, emotions that weren't processed, they're weights that pull this balloon down, and the vibration drops, and they're no longer a high vibrational being because they are weighted down by all of this dense emotion that sits in their field.
Yeah.
And then it ends up in your clinic
Yeah.
because they're sick now, or they're having liver damage because energy's been sitting dense on the liver. The amount of times I see thyroid issues or neck pain because the
Right.
throat chakra is clogged with dense energy. It is
Yeah.
incredible. So I love that we work so beautifully together and refer our clients to each other, because it is so crucial to be able to have people in your network to be able to refer on. You mentioned earlier, sometimes I might refer someone onto a counselor, sometimes I'll refer them onto a GP. It's really great, just this holistic approach. I can see growth in the area that you're working in, because everyone that comes back from seeing you is always like, she's amazing. So you're getting some really good feedback out there. So well done. If anyone is interested in trying naturopathy for the first time and they are willing to travel down to Kilmore, which is
They
an
don't even have to.
oh, amazing!
They
Tell us all about it.
don't.
What can they do?
So you can come and see me in the clinic, absolutely, and we'll share a cup of tea. I actually have a teacup here, so I do serve it in cute little teacups. But I have the option that you can see me via telehealth. You can book online, and any prescription or blood tests, referrals, everything can be sent to your home. So there is no need to leave the house, leave the office to travel, or if you just have a busy corporate lifestyle, it's totally okay. We can work around that. So you can come and see me from anywhere, right?
That's awesome.
So it's amazing. So I'm excited for people to come and explore and understand the benefits of what naturopathy has to offer. So a basic of what naturopathy is we look at you, like we've discussed, holistically, and we'll look at you from the spiritual sense. We look at what you're doing within your lifestyle. So where are you living? What's your environment like? What's your work environment? Because that can have an effect on our body, the environment. We then look at how you're understanding and processing things. We look at your diet, what's good for you, what's not. And yes, that's individual because we are looking at your genetic health, but also what's currently happening in your body. But further, we can actually support you with tailored nutrient therapies. And people seem to think, oh, it's just the nutrients that are over the counter. Well, actually, it's not. When we look at practitioner therapies, we're actually looking at really clean and refined ones that are made to really high standards and are all TGA approved. So we know what's in it and we know how it works. And finally, we can work with the wonder of herbal medicine. And I love herbals for this absolute fun thing. When we take a herbal medicine, the constituents or the chemicals that are in there, the plant chemicals, it is not just one thing like a drug. So it's not an
Mm.
isolated compound. There's actually a multitude of factors in there. And when we look at the interaction with the body, it will work on certain systems. And that can be beneficial rather than taking a handful of medications. It may be possible to be able to take a couple of herbs or have the herbs mixed into one bottle to make it more effective for that person. So it's really quite a tailored approach. And obviously, I'm quite passionate about it because I really just enjoy it and I see the benefit of it. So give it a try. Reach out. I also do offer 15-minute discovery calls. So you can book them in, they're online. You don't have to travel down for 15-minute appointment at all. And we can talk a little bit further about you specifically, which is always a little bit more fun as well.
I'll make sure to keep all of your contact details available at the bottom of this podcast summary as well, so that they can get in touch with you and make an appointment. I am so loving working in collaboration with you. So keep doing what you're doing, and thank you so much for your time today. I've really, really enjoyed our chat as per usual.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been really, really good. And yes, I love working in collaboration with you. it's phenomenal to see the work that you can do and just the level. Like, I've experienced a variety of different people within that space, but never have I felt that full physical reaction. It's phenomenal. Like, wow, well done. That's
I love my job.
amazing.
Thank you. Thanks for the testimonial. I'm all shy
Most
now.
people will see Reiki as someone putting their hands or whatever, but this is a whole nother level, like to feel it and go, whoa, I'm feeling that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool.
Well, interestingly enough, Reiki is used for me much less than the other energies that I work with. I work with about 6 to 7 different energies, and each one will come to exactly where it needs to go. So Reiki seems to be one that pops in for some, but most of the time, my main energy is violet flame that I work with. But then you're working from that holistic approach as well with the transformational coaching for that first hour. I've already prepped your energy and just clearing what needs to. So I've already made my job so easy by the time I get you on the table. So yeah, but anyway, thank you so much. And I could talk to you for hours, but we'll just have to arrange a part two maybe in 2026.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Thanks.